What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Another Turnover Basketball Podcast, where a basketball fan with zero basketball credibility gives his opinions on what's going on in the NBA, opinions that nobody asked for. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Chris Aaron Murphy, aka Aaron. And ladies and gentlemen, we got a very, very special guest on today's show. Today's show is going to be all about the trade deadline. I put this show together on, Monday of this week, and completely had to change it. So changed it pretty much today. So I want to welcome a good friend of mine, a friend I used to work with for a number of years, Mr. Cameron Walker. So Cam, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, how you been? That life been treating you all right?
Yes, sir. Can't complain. Life's been good.
Perfect. Well, I'm super appreciative and grateful to have you and for all of your suggestions with everything that's happened with the trade deadline. Like I said,
Hey,
I sent
it's
Cam.
been crazy.
Yeah, I sent Cam the notes for the show Monday so we could prepare, and we pretty much had to change all of it. But I mean, change it for the good. But I'm excited. You ready to talk some trade deadline?
Man, been itching to talk trade deadline.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into it. Like we normally keep the show around 30 minutes or so. So the first thing we have to talk about, the trade of the season, probably the trade of the 2020s so far. I mean, we're 3 years into the 2020s. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been traded to the Phoenix Suns. So that was a blockbuster trade that came out. What was it like? It was like well after like 1 o'clock or something like that. Like I was asleep.
Yeah,
So
so it was midnight our time, but it broke 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and I mean,
yeah,
Twitter
absolutely.
was on fire. It was Twitter after dark, man.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I
And
didn't
Woj
see
and Chance was dropping
I
bombs.
didn't see any of it until it was about 7 a.m. or so. I usually wake up around 7. But I'll read briefly here some of the notes from ESPN. It says after 3+ tumultuous years and a second trade request in 8 months, All-Star forward Kevin Durant has been traded from the Nets to the Suns for a package that includes dynamic forward Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 unprotected future first round picks, the team announced on Thursday. So what a wild trade. I mean, Kevin Durant was, rumored to be, traded during the offseason. That news came out that he wanted out and the Suns were one of the preferred destination. But Cam, I want to ask you first, like, who do you think was the winner of this trade? Like, what were your initial thoughts and who do you think is the winner?
You have to go with the Suns. I mean, you're getting KD, right?
No.
And you're also getting TJ Warren, to fill in some depth that's kind of leaving behind with Bridges and Johnson. But I mean, it's these types of trades you never know,
Yeah.
especially I mean we saw it with the Harden, Kyrie, and KD team up in Brooklyn. That wasn't that long ago. That was 2020, 2021,
21, I
and
think. Yeah.
that got dismantled in 2 years. So I mean, off the jump, you got to go with the Suns because just that starting five, just with KD, CP, Book, Aiton, if they can stay healthy, bro, that's scary. But the big if is, can they stay healthy?
Of course, absolutely. No, I would agree. I mean, when I was putting the notes together, I was like, I would say the Suns win the trade. I mean, usually when you get the best player in the deal, you win the trade. Usually, that's not always the case.
Oh, for
But,
sure.
I would say they win the trade in the short term because obviously Chris Paul's,
Yeah.
he's getting older. He's definitely not the Chris Paul's. I wouldn't say he's washed. Like, I would not say that at all, but he's getting older and I think he is noticeably showing his age, especially on the defensive end. But in the short term, like obviously, if they were to win the chip this year and then that was it,
Oh, it
it's
makes it
it's a
worth
win.
it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
all
It's
it's
a
all
win.
worth it. But I mean, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker playing alongside an incredible playmaker like Chris Paul, like I see that working well basketball wise. I'm a little concerned with their defensive depth. I mean, obviously Jay Crowder wasn't playing all year because he wanted to trade out, but I mean they still got Torrey Craig, I think, is on the team. And another player that name is blanking me who's a pretty decent perimeter defender. But if you look on the flip side, like with the Brooklyn side, long term, like obviously this is a different trade, but Spencer Dinwiddie is there now, which we'll get into a little bit later. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all the picks that they got. I kind of like the collection of talent they have. I was just watching before the show
Yeah.
that Bulls Nets game is on right now. Like Cam Thomas, like I had never heard of him till like a couple weeks ago. but I mean,
Man, it's crazy. Whenever that 2021 draft came around, Cam Thomas was one of the guys I was seeing. I was hoping the Rockets would draft, but instead they went with Josh Christopher. And I mean, the dude can just score the ball. He doesn't play a whole lot of defense, but the dude
absolutely.
can
Like
score.
he's been balling out. But like I said, that collection of talent that they have, young and the picks, like I like what Brooklyn got back. So, but I would, if I had to choose
Yeah,
one, I would say the Suns, won this trade. But that does
yeah.
kind of lead to my next question about this particular trade. Do you think this makes Phoenix the team to beat in the Western Conference?
That's tough, man. That's tough. I still think. I mean, I still like Denver, and I still like Memphis's moves today, man. I mean, going out and getting a couple more shooters, for that
Yeah.
team where they're gonna be tough to beat. So, I mean, KD's hurt, Book has been hurt on and off this year, CP's been hurt. It makes the West more enticing, but I don't know if they're the team to beat yet, just because you just don't know how that talent's gonna gel yet. So, you know, definitely would put them as a strong contender. But I mean, it's still gonna be tough with Denver and Memphis at the top right there.
I would agree. I mean, I pretty much put the same thing, with health being a major question for that particular team.
Oh
I
yeah,
wouldn't say that they're the clear-cut favorite or, the runaway in the West. I would not go that far.
no,
I do think Denver is a better team. Obviously, I mean, Jokic, Aaron Gordon probably was an all-star snub, like probably should have been on the team looking back. I think a healthy Golden State is still probably better overall than this Phoenix Suns team. Obviously, they haven't been healthy pretty much all year either, but the Clippers are on par.
yeah,
They're in the mix. The Grizzlies are in the mix as well. The Grizzlies are my preseason number one in the Western Conference. So they're not the favorite, but like you said, they're definitely in the mix, I would say.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean that Golden State team, they just can't win on the road though. That's the only
Yeah,
problem with
it's
them.
really
They
bizarre
just
too.
it's been different, and I mean the whole thing with the West is it's just who's going to get hot, right? We saw it last year with the Mavs. The Mavs got hot at the right time and rode that to the Western Conference
Absolutely.
final. So I
And I
mean,
mean,
it's
I would
it's
say
gonna be fun come playoff time, man. It's
yeah,
gonna be a lot of fun.
I would say you probably have legitimately 5 or 6 teams in the Western Conference that could make
Oh,
a
that
run
can
to the
come out,
finals.
yeah.
Like those
Oh,
whoever
absolutely.
those non-play-in teams, those actual playoff teams are, could
Oh,
probably take it.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's definitely the West has definitely taken the mantle back from the East. There was all that talk about how the East, was having all these teams like the Heat, but the Heat can't stay healthy. The Celtics and the Bucks are the only two that I can see that coming out of there. The Sixers can never stay healthy, or if they do, they end up choking in the playoffs anyway. So I mean, the West is just it's like you got your group in the West, and then you got okay, is it going to be Milwaukee or Boston in the East?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Well, all right. Well, that's the first trade that we kind of wanted to get into. Kevin Durant is now a Phoenix Suns. I would have never thought I would see the day that he'd be playing for Phoenix, but
That's
uh,
crazy, man.
I know. That's my 2K team now. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah,
But the
that
next
my team. That team is built like a my team.
it really is, absolutely. But next trade that I wanted to get into was a trade that happened 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken now. By the time you're listening to this, 3 days ago, Russell Westbrook is no longer in LA. Russell Westbrook has been traded to the Utah Jazz in a 3-team deal, and this deal was pretty intriguing as well. Let me go back and pull it up here. So the Los Angeles Lakers get D'Angelo Russell from Minnesota, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. So filling out their getting some young talent and getting some nice perimeter players. Minnesota is getting Mike Conley from Utah, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and 3
Mhm.
second-round picks consecutive years. And then the Utah Jazz will be getting Russell Westbrook, Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, and that coveted 2027 first-round pick from the Lakers. Now, there are reports as of right now that the Utah Jazz are looking to buy out Russell Westbrook's contract, the remainder of his contract, and their interest from Miami as well as the Los Angeles Clippers, which that would be pretty crazy if that happened because if he went to the
Yeah,
Clippers and started balling out, like that would be pretty funny. But
that would be.
a 3-team deal. So you got 3 teams to, you know, to choose from. Who won this trade?
I'm gonna give you. My first immediate winner is the Lakers. I mean, they did everything that they needed to do. They got 2 stars in LeBron and AD that they believe in, right? You know, fingers crossed that AD doesn't, you know, break something or tear something and gets to stay on the court. But this Lakers team, ever since their championship run a few years ago, they've been missing supplemental pieces. And so to go out and get someone like D'Angelo Russell, someone to get Malik Beasley, who can just shoot the lights out of the ball, and then Vanderbilt to play in that, you know, get those defensive rebounds and, you know, be able to switch on almost anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of works in their favor, in my opinion. And I mean, it plus the added bonus of, you know, getting Westbrook off the floor. Like it just, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's gonna work for them on and off the court. Uh, you know, I just don't think I never liked that Westbrook trade for the Lakers from the beginning. Didn't like it from a locker room standpoint. Didn't
I
like
don't
it
know
from
if you
a
remember when
fit on the floor standpoint.
we were working together, I was like, this ain't gonna work.
No, I mean I didn't like it when Westbrook went to Houston. Like, you know, so I mean, like so, and then you know the one thing I do want to mention is the Jazz, man. Like the 15 first round picks for the next, I want to say
It's like 6
6
years, right?
drafts. Yeah, I mean it's just like I think they got the 2027 first from the Lakers. Yeah, it's top 4 protected, but they're also a winner in my opinion, right? I mean they're building a young core with pieces from trades that they've made with Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. I think Laurie Markkinen's he's a all-star this year. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so
Yep.
the Jazz are doing exactly what teams want to be doing, competing and building for the future. And they continue to do that. Their 2027 draft, they have their own pick. They have the Cavs unprotected pick. They have the Timberwolves unprotected pick. And now they have the Lakers top 4 protected pick. So Lakers are the immediate winner. The Jazz still, you know, future winners, in my opinion. And then the Timberwolves, I mean, hey, you know, consolation prize is you're getting, you know, Mike Conley, who I think can be a more assertive floor general than what D'Angelo Russell was for a team that badly needs it. With that, you know, and the T Wolves have an abundance of talent with Ant and Cat and Gobert. So I think the Lakers are the real winners. Um, and then, you know, but it's kind of cool to not see any like real losers in this deal too. So
I mean, I couldn't agree more with, you know, kind of what you broke down. I think every team really got what they wanted slash needed. And you don't really see that often in
yeah,
multiple team trades. I
nah,
mean, the Lakers got younger, they got their playmaking point guard, and they've got perimeter shooting and defensive perimeter or you know, perimeter defense. That's what they were looking for, and they got
yeah.
that from the trade. Obviously the Utah Jazz, more picks, young, they're I mean, gearing up for, you know, subsequent drafts. Everybody's trying to get Victor Wembanyama. So, I mean, we'll see
Well,
what
hey,
happens.
him or Scoot, man, dude. Scoot's been balling out in the G League, man. Like,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
this wasn't, you got a 1A 1B type draft, almost like a
Absolutely.
Zion John Morant draft.
Yeah, but you had like you mentioned, Russ, you know, Russell Westbrook just didn't fit with that Lakers team. He wasn't the
No.
cause of all of their problems, I would say.
Oh
Like
no,
they
not at
just
all,
I
not at
mean,
all.
they you know, they didn't play defense well. You know, they turned the ball over way too much and they couldn't stay on the floor because of health. So obviously, you know, that's just a factor
Yeah,
that they had. So he was I do felt he was kind of scapegoated for a lot of the things that went bad, but at the end of the day, he was not a basketball fit for that team. So but yeah, like you said, Lakers being immediate winner, but everybody won something from this trade. But to
yeah.
kind of to follow up with all of that, you know, do you think that the Lakers with this trade will get to a play-in spot? They're 13th, if I'm not mistaken, right now, about 2 games back from that 10th spot.
So, I mean, I had them in the play-in at the beginning, at the preseason.
I
Even like when you
didn't.
did that show, like I had everything. I mean, I had them squeaking in. You know, I didn't have them as a playoff team, but I had them in the play-in.
Yeah.
Um, man, I don't know. I could see it because their strength of schedule. If I'm not mistaken, isn't as strong as some of the other Western Conference teams like OKC, the Clippers. I think the Clippers could fall out from where they're at, if they don't stay healthy, because everybody else around them made some big moves, and all they got was what, Eric Gordon. I mean, so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, they got rid
I,
of
I
Reggie
mean, I could
Jackson.
see it.
That was a surprise.
I can see it, but let's say I wouldn't be surprised if they did and if they didn't. They're kind of
Yeah,
one of those teams that if they get hot and stay healthy, you can't count LeBron out. Like
of course.
you can't count out greatness. So
Yeah.
that's where I kind of stand on it. But there's a lot of ifs with that team. There's a
Yeah.
lot of ifs with
Well, I
that
mean,
team.
with less than 30 games to go in the season, with them being 2 games back from 10th spot, of course they could catch. They go on a 5 game
Yeah.
win streak. Like, yeah, they could get that 10th or that ninth spot. Now, do I see them making a deep playoff run? Absolutely not. Say by
No,
some chance
no,
they win their play-in game and they get to that, say that 8th seed, and they end up playing Denver in the first. Like, they're not a better team than Denver.
no.
Like, they're.
Yeah. They're
I
not a
mean,
better team.
could I see them catching somebody young? Now, let's say they got messed up with like somebody like Sacramento in the first round. Now, I mean, I could see,
I can see
them if they
that.
were healthy, they could potentially win a first round, but it all depends on that matchup. If they get Denver or probably even Memphis, and that's assuming everybody's healthy, now they're a first round
Yeah.
exit. So, but I mean, I
Yeah.
could see it. So,
Yeah.
all right, next big trade. Let's transition here. This one came out earlier in the week, or no, this was last week, last Friday, if I'm not
It was
mistaken.
last week. Yeah.
Oh man, we got
This
10 minutes.
this was the
We got 10 minutes
10
left.
minutes.
I got the 10-minute mark. So, but this is a
We'll make
pretty,
this one quick.
yeah, this is a pretty big one. Kyrie Irving was traded to the Dallas Mavericks. I've got the full details here on my page refresh. Kyrie Irving, Markieff Morris going to Dallas. Brooklyn Nets get Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and then the 2029 first round pick and 2 second-round picks. So, initial thoughts, who won that trade?
I mean, I almost want to say the Nets, man. They got the headache out of Brooklyn, from a standpoint of, how Kyrie has just kind of, I don't know, man. I'm a little, I don't know. I mean, Kyrie in
I went with the
Boston came and
Nets.
did it.
So, I went with the
I
Nets as
mean,
well.
but what's crazy, I also have a feeling too, where like it's almost like, when you break up with your girlfriend, or and then the girl goes off and goes to the gym and gets in shape, and the guy just kind of like what like that's the scary part is like Kyrie could go off and do that in Dallas and be like the perfect fit for Luka, but just from
Right.
like the history that Kyrie has presented off the court and his health on the court as well. I want to give the dub to the Nets. They got back some solid pieces to you know have some sort of a foundation while
Yeah.
still getting a first round pick, that's what, 6 years away. So I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in 6 years? Luka might not even be on the Mavs by then, and the Nets could be picking in the top five. So I mean, that's what I did, but I'm definitely intrigued by the pairing of Luka and Kyrie in Dallas. I just
Yeah.
don't know if it's gonna be enough for them.
Well, I definitely get where you're coming from, from a Dallas perspective. I picked the Nets as well to say that they won this trade, mainly because they didn't offer Kyrie Irving the extension and there were no plans to extend him. He wanted that 4-year 190, wasn't going to happen. And then obviously Kyrie wasn't going to resign. So you had to get
Nah,
something for him. So
something.
yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and some draft picks, cut your losses. There you go. Like, I thought that was a pretty decent pick. Like, you know what you're getting with Spencer Dinwiddie. He was there a couple years ago. He's good for, I mean, with Luka, he was good for 16, 18 points a night. He's probably going to get you 20 to 22 points a night with Brooklyn. I think he'll probably end up being their primary scorer. Because Mikal Bridges is not, really score, but with the way Cam Thomas has been
Yeah.
scoring, maybe it'll be Cam Thomas. Who knows? But I definitely said Brooklyn won the trade. But switching gears, do you think that the pairing of Kyrie and Luka is right now? Obviously, we haven't seen them play together, but is that going to be the best backcourt in the NBA going forward if they stay together for a while?
Hmm. I still take Golden State's backcourt over that backcourt. I mean,
Healthy Steph and
a
Clay.
healthy Clay is just too much for the league. Um, but I mean, they could definitely contend for it. I don't see why not. I
Absolutely.
mean, even Tyrese Maxey and Harden over in the East, that's a tantalizing backcourt right there. So
Yeah. I put it like this. When I, presented the question, I was like, could that be the best offensive backcourt?
absolutely,
Probably. I see it kind of, I mean, you being a Rockets fan, I see it as Chris Paul and James Harden in those Rockets years when Chris Paul was there. Like
yeah,
definitely a really solid backcourt. I didn't think that was going to work, and it worked beautifully. I still really don't know how it did,
yeah,
but it worked beautifully. I could see it like that, but on the defensive end, neither one of them is committed to playing defense. So I think it's going to be any other backcourts they run into is probably going to be an issue for them, going forward because they
yeah,
lost some defensive depth with that trade. But so those were the three big trades, the biggest trades of the
yeah.
trade season. We were talking before, before we got on air with the show here. Like this was a really exciting trade deadline, a trade deadline week per se.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was.
we got Russ, KD, Kyrie was on the move, and there were some other ones. So because we only got about 5 minutes here, Cam, what were some of your sneaky good trades of the week, or maybe even just of the season so far? Like maybe we'll pick one or two each.
So looking at it, I mean, I liked what the Spurs and Raptors trade, where Toronto, instead of becoming sellers, went ahead and got a piece that they've been missing very, very badly
Well, I mean, they
is a
traded him
big
in the
man.
first place,
So
so
they did. Hey, they did. They got him back. And I thought the Spurs did well to get, first round pick out of it. And then I also like the Knicks getting Josh Hart, to come back and play with his boy Brunson in New York. I felt like that was a very underrated move. Um, and then I think my last one, um, man, there's just so many to go through.
I know for today just by
Um,
itself.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I told you earlier, I liked Memphis getting Luke Kennard. I think that's going to be great for them.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
the other one that I think might sneak under the radar is Jay Crowder going to Milwaukee. I think someone that has playoff experience
Five
and NBA
five second
Finals
second round
experience.
picks. That kind
Well,
of shook
dude,
me.
those 5 second round picks were being tossed around everywhere. I mean, I think the
Yeah,
Warriors got 5 for Wiseman and then used those 5 to trade for Gary Payton. So I mean,
yeah.
it was all over the place, but I mean, it was very, very interesting day of trades. That's to say the least.
Absolutely. No, I can agree more. Those are all some very interesting trades. I really liked the Clippers Bones Highland trade. They got Bones
Yeah,
Highland for 2 second round picks. I think he has potential to be very, very good. I mean, in what I saw in the games in Denver that he played, like he can get you some buckets. So I really like what I saw from him. And then the one that I kind of just wanted to briefly touch on, you mentioned it, the Warriors getting rid of James Wiseman in a 3-team deal. He is now a Detroit Piston. Man, like the number 2 pick and moving on from him already. I I struggle to think, like, I know he was injured for a good bit, but if they had drafted LaMelo Ball in that draft, would they be better off or worse off? Because obviously we've seen what LaMelo can be. Obviously he's dealt with some injuries too, but James White, I was like, man, I
I think
really thought he was going to be a good fit, but did they make the
I
wrong
think they would have
decision?
been better off.
I mean,
They
I
would have
think
been
so
better
too.
off because if you think about it from the time of the pickup or from that draft, Clay was out,
Yeah.
so Lamelo would have filled in immediately
Yeah. I mean,
right there next
defensively,
to
he leaves a
Steph.
little bit to be
You
desired,
know,
but I yeah.
no doubt, And then like it doesn't, it sucks that Wiseman's been dealing with the injuries and Kevon Looney's just when you have a guy that's averaging what 10 and 10, I mean it's kind of hard to take that out of your lineup. But I'm very intrigued. I mean, I think what Wiseman's still 20, 21 years old. I
He's
mean,
super
2, 3
young. I
years into the
mean,
league. So
hopefully he's got a
I
long
mean,
career ahead of him.
I guess it's going to be interesting. Detroit's got something brewing over there, with what they got going on with Cade and Ivy and now Wiseman. So I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
Surprised
see.
Bogdanovich
We'll see. I
Bogdanovich didn't
mean,
get moved. I'm shocked by that because he was on the
he
trading
he
block for a
was he
minute.
was yeah, and I mean, I really thought if before I saw that Raptors trade, I thought they might have started selling off, and I thought OG might have been shipped out, and maybe even Fred VanVleet, you
Yeah.
know, I thought Toronto might have been ready to hit the reset button, but could you imagine if they were ready to hit the reset button after all the stuff that went down today? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
insane.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see a whole lot from them because they definitely underachieved for the season. But we got about a minute left, so we got to wrap up here. Cam, I appreciate you being on the show, talking trades and whatnot. I definitely have to have you back on the show again. Where can everybody find you on the socials?
You find me on Instagram at CamWalker11, and then I think on Twitter is Cameron_W11. So staying live and trying to keep active on the social media. It's been a little difficult as we gotten older, but hey
man, we gotta do what we gotta do,
I'm
right?
all for it. Right?
Absolutely. All right, like I said, I appreciate you. Thank you everyone for listening, watching. If you could do all the good things, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Have a wonderful weekend, fellas. Get your lady something nice for Valentine's Day weekend. It's coming up soon. But yeah, take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace out. Black whip, got old problems with a friends new. Yeah, I'm in the big leagues. Told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quick.